formulas. The other part is going to show you basically all the ones that I missed, which is pretty much not that much. But anyways, I'm using Tracer right now. I'm in a place called Hanamura in Overwatch. If you guys play Overwatch, this will help you a lot. If you don't, I kind of recommend playing Overwatch to get yourself familiar with the maps, because we're going to be going through some memory journeys, memory palaces, and how we can chain these memory palaces to help you understand and memorize all of the physics formulas that I'm going to show you. So the website on the left is going to show you some of the formulas that I'm going to show you how to memorize from. And so I have more websites. The gold standard MCAT prep physics formulas are also a good resource. And so I start off with Tracer. Tracer is a very fast person. She defies the laws of physics because she basically rewinds time, goes forward, and basically skips time as she moves forward. You see? And because she does that, I think of her as, you know, the main person for physics. So she's going through motions, okay? And in the physics formula, we're not going to defy any physics, okay? So motion, in regards to motion, we memorize the 5 kinematic equations. This is something you should already know already, you know, just by taking physics 1 in high school or in college. So it's background knowledge, so I don't have a way to memorize it. It's just through repetition. And then moving on, we have force is equal to ma. So Tracer is going to go to the first checkpoint, right? And this is one of the main objects in our memory palace, okay? And so I came from over here, right? I'm just going. And I know that just like the Flash, when you accelerate and punch something, the force will be greater. But it will be greater on one side. So, for example, Tracer, I'm going to go really fast, right? And mass can affect force as well, mass or acceleration. And so as I'm going really, really fast, bam, I slammed into the bell right here, right? And basically, I might get hurt because my density, the density of my body versus the density of this bell is very different. So it seems that I'm going to take more damage. I might inflict some damage onto this bell. But basically what I'm trying to say is that my mass and acceleration can affect what happens when I punch or try to run towards this and get hit by this bell. Okay? And so you can imagine Tracer just falling down as a result of this. I'm getting hurt. Maybe my hand gets smushed. My head gets smushed. Alright, and then I come back, right? And as I'm going back to go back to hit this bell again, I initially actually rammed into this, and as I rammed into this, the bell basically moved in a centripetal motion, right? So what happens here? Well, the centripetal force that it can exert as it moves involves several factors. First, the mass. It makes sense that the more mass this has, the more force it will have when it inflict its force into a person or anything really. So, for example, this bell is going to hit me with some force due to centripetal force, okay? And in order for this to happen, looking at the formula on the left, you'll see force is equal to mass times velocity squared over radius. So, how would this make sense to you? Well, in my story, you're going to see that mass is affected, right? That's something you just have to know. It just makes sense, all right? And now, what about velocity squared? Well, you know that this is moving in a certain velocity, okay? And what about squared? Squared is something you probably might need to remember because it doesn't make sense at all here. So I'm going to make sure my story makes sense with the formula. So what I'm going to say is that velocity squared, so the word squared, we're going to imagine a squared box all the way up here, okay? And that square box is going to fall down and bang onto this side of the bell causing velocity to increase exponentially. And that's what makes sense here. The square box will fall down on this, causing velocity to exponentially increase. And that is how I remember mass times velocity squared. Okay, now what about radius? It would also make sense that if the radius increases, right, the centripetal force will probably decrease. Okay, this is because if the square falls down, right, the square box falls down, you wouldn't expect the bell to move as fast as if compared to if the bell had a smaller radius. Okay, if the bell had a smaller radius, it would be more susceptible to becoming faster with the square pushing down onto the bell, so that it can swing its motion. Okay, and and so that's how we remember that the centripetal force is equal to the mass times velocity squared over radius. Okay, and that centripetal force, as I try to go back into it, right, it's going to I go around, and the bell actually slammed into me, smashing my face through my face, causing me to go all the way to this spot over here, right? You can imagine me being swung, right, and being thrown off into the air, and bam, splashed onto that wall. Okay, and basically when that occurs, there's a gravitational force when I'm in the air at this spot. Okay, so imagine I'm going up in a slow motion kind of fashion, right? So in this slow motion, in this projectile motion where I'm in the air, you're going to see me being affected by gravitational force. Okay, and gravitational force is basically defined as gravitation, right, multiplied by my mass. So Tracer's mass versus the mass of the whole Earth. Okay, this is me against the world. All right, multiplied by gravitation, which is 9.8. But this is over the radius squared. Now, what would make sense here? How do we remember squared? Well, basically, the radius squared is put into consideration the radius between the tracer and the Earth. So that's 2 radius, right? So you're basically multiplying those 2 radius. So the radius between me and the Earth, well, the tracer's radius and the Earth's radius is put into consideration when we look at the formula of gravitation multiplied by my mass versus the Earth's mass over the radius squared. Okay, and tracer is obviously over something, right? The radius is going to be from, so if tracer is right here, then that means the radius will be like right at her going down to the floor. Okay, so that's between tracer and the Earth. So that's radius squared. Alright, so we got a couple of formulas memorized already. I know that took a while, but it's a good way to memorize your formulas in an organized fashion. And so now, as tracer gets splashed into that wall, right, you're going to see a person named Torbjorn, right? I'm going to get the character of Torbjorn right now. And so what Torbjorn has is a monkey wrench. Or not a monkey wrench, but a tool, a mechanical tool. And this mechanical tool will play a role in how this continuation of the memory journey occurs. So Torbjorn, we're going to think of as a pervert. Okay, Torbjorn he's a weird pervert. He's a sadistic pervert, really. And so what this guy does is basically emphasizing the use of his mechanical tool as shown on my right hand. Okay, and remember that Tracer is up here. She basically got slammed into this wall by that bell, right? She falls down after gravitational force, remember? And as she falls, Torbjorn is right here, right? He's like, torque for me, torque for me. And then he turns around, right? And everyone behind him, these are a lot of people. These are people who are filming, all right? And basically Torbjorn turns around and says, "You ready to film?" And so he looks like he's doing a scene with Tracer, and this is not a sexual scene. But basically, Torbjorn's saying, "Torque for me! Torque for me! You don't torque for me, I'm going to use this tool, this mechanical tool, so that I can basically shove this tool into your gut and then twist it." And how would that affect, what kind of physics formula would that affect? The factors that affect this torque formula would be radius, so the radius of the actual tool multiplied by the force that I'm acting upon the body as I'm twisting it. So you can think of a monkey wrench like twisting around. I'm doing the same thing, but with this Torbjorn weapon into Tracer's abdomen, right? And I'm twisting the tool with the radius multiplied by the force in mind. Okay? And so that's torque. We got torque out of the way. And now, I turn around, they're filming, right? But then when I turn around, they're not looking at me anymore. I'm like, wait, why aren't you looking at me anymore? Actually, they're looking at a person up here called Widowmaker. Okay? Widowmaker is a character, a sniper, right? She has a grappling hook. Okay? And basically what Widowmaker does right at that place, I'm getting Widowmaker, by the way. So what Widowmaker will be doing at that second floor is basically twerking. So everyone's like clapping their hands. "Oh wow, you're twerking! That's what we wanted," right? Torbjorn was asking people to twerk, right? And so Widowmaker, we can think of as Rihanna. She looks like Rihanna, actually. And if you guys remember the song "Work, Work, 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 Work," from Rihanna, by Rihanna, you're gonna see how we can connect that to the next part of our memory palace. So there's 3 formulas for work. I think there's more. So basically, I'm right here. I'm twerking, right? And I'm like, this is not fancy enough. Let me get up there, okay? So I'm going up here. I said, "Okay, work, 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 work. Who wants to work?" And the audience says, freak that, or fuck that. So that's FD, right? Freak that, cuz. So sometimes, work is equal to FD cosine theta. So that's why I say cuz. So freak that, cuz. So FD cosine theta. So that's one. Okay, I said, what? Nobody wants to work? Work, 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 work. And then I go too into it, right? Right? I go too into it. And then suddenly, I fell. So as I'm falling, right, the work can also equal to kinetic energy. And kinetic energy is basically the constant motion that happens. So basically the constant motion that occurs is when I'm falling downwards, okay? And everyone's like, "Whoa, she's coming to us. I want to poke her. I want to poke her butt." Okay, this is not safe for work. I'm sorry. So the next part, so after kinetic energy is involved, right? There's another part where work is equal to pressure multiplied by the change in volume. So as I'm falling down, right, the filming crew comes towards me, right? And basically I fell down. I'm on the floor. I'm in a prone position, right? I'm in prone position, basically. And then basically everyone is trying to press on my voluptuous butt. Okay, so press, as in pressure, right? Voluptuous butt that can change over time. People can change the size of their butt through squats. So basically, they're pressing onto my. So you imagine all these film crew just poking and pressing onto her butt. Everyone's doing it at the same time, and at a certain point she just dies because of that. This is an exaggeration, but yes, she dies as a result of the film crew poking on her butt, okay? All the way piercing through her butt cheek, destroying her organs, her internal organs, killing her. Now, what's going to happen as a result of this? Who will get triggered? What is the next trigger? Well, there's a character named Bane. Bane is a character from Batman, okay? And I think of Bane, I think this is the right character, but Bane is basically the character that has a lot of medications, like a lot of syringes around his body to make him stronger, right? So basically, Bane is like coming from here, right? He said, "Oh, who killed my girlfriend?" Because Rihanna or Widowmaker is the girlfriend of Bane, okay? So Bane you can think of as the person of power. He is nothing but power, okay? So this is where power comes into the story. There's 3 formulas for power, or 4 actually. It's not shown here, but I'm going to tell you that power is equal to IV, right? Is equal to I squared R. Well, okay, let me tell you the variables actually. So power is equal to current times voltage, also equal to current squared times resistance, also equal to work over time, the change in work over the change in time, and it's also equal to voltage squared divided by resistance. Okay, it took me a little bit of time to go through that because I had to like go through the memory journey pretty quickly. But anyways, Bane is over here, okay? Bane is like the epiphany of power. He's like, "Oh, kill my girlfriend." And so, you know, he basically injected IV, current times voltage, into his bodies, causing him to increase in power. Basically, that's like a lot of steroids, right? It could be steroids. And lots of steroids. He's super powerful, and he's trying to destroy everyone, right? And in order to destroy everyone, we have to use the formula current squared times resistance. And how would that make sense? Well, we can think of 2 lifesavers, right? That Bane has. And basically, Bane has 2 lifesavers that is full of electric current surging through those lifesavers, right? And so those lifesavers have currents. And so 2 lifesavers, you know, multiplied together will be current squared, right? And resistance would make sense because he's resisting the film crew, right? The film crew is fighting Bane too because Bane is trying to kill them too. And so 2 currents times resistance, right? Bane's just like doing this slash and dash, you know? And then we go to the next part of the formula. So this is equal, power is equal to voltage divided by voltage squared divided by resistance. And so you can imagine Bane, you know, just slashing, and then he gets tired. He's like, "Oh, my resistance is getting weaker." And then he starts doing this, right? And these 2 index fingers will represent a voltage. He basically has another ability where he like produces electricity or voltage out of his index fingers, but it's so weak. So you can just imagine him, you know, just a weak guy. He's starting to be weak. He's just doing this. And basically voltage is coming out of both of his index fingers. And so that's voltage squared, okay? Because there's 2 voltage surge coming out of his index fingers. And this is over resistance because resistance is dramatically decreased here, okay? So over resistance. So voltage squared over resistance. So oh, by the way, that's the end of the power formulas in this memory journey. If you guys want to know, I used work over time as power in a different memory palace. But I'm not going to talk about that now. I need to continue with this journey. So you know that Bane has, you know, this basically this 2 voltage squared over resistance, okay? And you know that means the audience is like beating him up, and then you'll see that Bane is like kind of crouched up like this. He's getting scared, and then he realized something. He realized that he shouldn't be relying on, you know, external materials such as steroids or electricity. he should use what is from within, his internal energy. His internal energy is basically, so this is a formula, next formula. Internal energy, which is U, is equal to the heat inside him, right? His internal energy, which is inside, you can imagine the heat building up. Okay? This is plus or minus the actual, so heat plus work, I think. Heat plus work. Yes. So Q plus or minus work. Okay? And so it's not over there. It's not shown here, but you can just search it up on Google. Basically, internal energy is equal to Q plus or minus work. It depends on the system and surroundings, right? But basically, the heat, which is from inside, and you can imagine if you zoom in into his body, right? If you guys seen the show, the TV show Osmosis Jones, you can probably assume that there's a lot of mini molecules inside his body working really hard, you know, like they look like they were working in a manufacturing industry, right? You know, just fixing up the pipes in his body, right? They're working, so plus or minus work. Okay, and so as a result, he does this, and then everyone just starts getting flown. You know, they just start flying, all right? And so Bane is like, okay, I'm free. Let me run over here. Okay, he's running over here, and then he uses a skateboard here, a penny board actually. So it's really kind of funny because Bane is really big, but he's trying to get on a penny board, right? He's going on a penny board, right? He's going, and then this person right here is Superman actually. Okay, but let's not talk about Superman yet. He's basically right now at this point. It's kind of funny that Bane is using a penny board or a skateboard, okay? And he's using a skateboard to run away from the film crew and Torbjorn, right? He's running. But when he uses a skateboard, there is some static friction, unfortunately. And so this is the next formula. So static friction is equal to U multiplied by normal force. And how I remember that is that basically when you think about static friction, what happens? Well, the skateboard on the floor is affected by static friction, right? And basically you are imagining Bane as he gets on the skateboard, he's putting on an umbrella, okay, at the same time. So he's trying to go while putting on an umbrella. This is because it's raining notebooks right now. You can imagine there's a lot of notebooks just falling down. So U for umbrella, notebooks for normal force, okay? And it would make sense that, you know, if the umbrella is closed, which is closer to zero, then the static friction let's see, give me 1 second. Basically, if you change the variables around, you can make sense of how the static friction would change or fluctuate in regards to the umbrella closing and opening versus the notebook's capacity to fall down. You know, the normal force is constant, okay? It is the U or the umbrella, which is the one that can change up what occurs in real life in physics, okay? And so basically, I don't want to go through static force concept right now, but basically that's what happens with Bane, right? So as a result, Bane kind of like almost falls down. So he's looking down, he's making sure he's trying to stay constant with his skateboarding skills. And then Superman's over here. Superman's like, stop, behold, I will stop you now. You hurt many of these innocent people. It's time I stop you. And so Bane is like, it's not looking at Superman. He's like, oh, I'm about to fall. And bam, he slams into Superman. And instead of having inelastic collision, there's actually elastic collision. So you can imagine Bane is basically flown all the way over there like right at that door, while Superman is actually flying through, like getting knocked back, hitting through that building all the way back to base. This is elastic collision. So he's like basically flying all the way over there. Boom. Okay? And so that's what happens with elastic collision. And then the next part is I'm getting a character right now. But basically what happens next is that while Bane is being flown back to that certain door, you'll notice that Symmetra is right behind Bane. And Symmetra is the person that basically tries to troll. We're going to think of Symmetra as a troller, okay? Typically Symmetra is a troll in Overwatch. Anyways. But this is more of a troll. She's trolling more than usual. This is because she's planning to use her teleporter, right? But her teleporter is placed in a weird place. So remember Bane is over there, right? And before Bane flew over there, Symmetra was like, whoa! She moves to her left, right? She's like, whoa! Okay, I'm going to run away from this situation. Alright? I'm just gonna go all the way over here. Okay, I'm just going to try to place my teleporter over here. Okay? And the reason why I'm placing my teleporter over here is so that people can, you know, when they use the teleporter, they'll end up being flown to the floor, to the sea. This is the sea, by the way. I don't want to think of it as, you know, multiple trees. Okay, so this is the sea, the Bikini Bottom. We're gonna be using SpongeBob, by the way. But anyways, at this teleporter, right, you're going to notice a person named Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate is a League of Legends character that was right here, right? He noticed the teleporter over there. So he's like, he has an instinct to try to destroy the teleporter. He's in the opponent team, right? He's trying to destroy the teleporter, right? He's like, whoa! And Twisted Fate is known for having cards, right? Magic cards, because he's a magician. When he uses cards, he implements magic into his cards and throws it at the teleporter so he can destroy the teleporter. But as he's throwing the cards, there's another person named Genji is over here, right? Genji is Symmetra's teammate, and basically Genji is trying to block the sword from going through the teleporter, but he couldn't. But the only thing he could do right now is to, I'm sorry, apparently it took too long. But basically Genji, what he does is basically splits the card in half, not in symmetrical half. Well, yeah, in symmetrical half. Not like cutting the card like that, but basically cutting the card through the card in a very thin surface, in the thin aspect of the card, okay? So he's splitting the card like this. So this is the sword. He's splitting this card like this. So he's splitting that card in half, but it's very, very thin, right? And what makes it so weird is that basically when Genji slashes the card, he splits it in half. And so one half will be going downwards like that, and the other half is still going straight, right? And the one going straight is powerful, it's more powerful. And we can think of it as going the speed of light. So now we're thinking about the index of refraction, okay? And we can think of Twisted Fate holding index cards. And he's throwing those index cards, Genji's slashing it in half, and then you'll notice that two cards are being split, alright? I mean, the card is being split into two, okay? And the card that's going straight still, through the teleporter, is basically going through the index of refraction, right? And so index of refraction is basically it's basically the speed of light in a medium versus the speed of a medium in a vacuum. So the index of refraction is the speed of light in a vacuum over the speed of the medium in a vacuum. And so this would make sense because so remember the two cards that resulted from the card being split? Well, the card going straight is the speed of light, and the speed of light card is basically over the other card going downwards like this, in as the speed of the unknown medium in a vacuum. Okay, and so the speed of light card is still continually going through the teleporter, and as it's going through the teleporter, there's another person, there's another actor here named Winston. Winston is a smart gorilla, okay, and he's looking at it. He's like, whoa, he's putting the card through the teleporter. I wonder how that would occur in magnification. So he has a magnifying glass, right? He's looking through the teleporter, right? So he's trying to look at an image of the index card, okay? And the magnification of the image is defined as the negative image distance of the image versus over the distance of the object, okay? And to remember this, Winston here is just looking through with a magnifying glass into the teleporter, okay? The teleporter, if I didn't say this already, I'm going to say this now. The teleporter, typically, I would think of it as absorbing negative energy. So as it absorbs negative energy, we can assume that every formula associated, well, most of the formula associated with the teleporter is the actual, is negative, okay? So we're going to use a negative formula here. And the magnification formula is the negative formula. And the formula is negative, and then negative distance of the image over distance of the object. So I'm looking at the image through the teleporter first, and then I look around the teleporter to see the distance between the teleporter and the actual object. So I'm looking at the image distance first over the distance of the object, okay? Negative. This is negative formula, okay? And so the next part is Torbjorn actually coming out of nowhere right behind Winston and saying, everyone knows that the optic formula is actually 1 over F is equal to 1 over O plus 1 over I. That's something I already know. So there's, if you don't know it already, there's going to be some mental effort, okay? And so Winston said, oh, I agree, but my formula is also correct. And so we're making theories, right? But as we're making theories, right, we have to still put into consideration that that card is still going through the teleporter, and it went through the teleporter and it's still here, right? It's a gold card, okay? That speed of light card has a lot of power, all right? It's going through the teleporter, and it's right here, right? And as it's going through the air right here, I am Pharaoh right now. I am a character capable of flying. So I'm right here. I saw the card, and I'm thinking, let me go get that card. So I flew over there, right? And I get the card that was right here, okay? I grab the card, and then I suddenly am full of energy, okay, as a result of that. And as I have all that energy, I'm going to release Hell's Fire. You know, Hell's Fury is going to get unleashed as a result of me grabbing that card, okay? So the formula is energy is equal to HF, or Hell's Fury, okay? And basically my Hell's Fury is my ultimate, but my ultimate is not showing up yet. Basically, I'm just like doing a collage of missiles, right? Killing everyone on my sights, okay? So that's energy is equal to HF, or H stands for Planck's constant, and F stands for frequency, okay? And how do we make more connections here? Easy. We're going to move and merge into a new memory palace. This is the fun part. I'm chaining another memory palace to this. So remember that I'm unlocking Hell's Fury right here, right? And as I'm unlocking Hell's Fury, we have to remember what is the constant for Planck's constant, which is H, okay? And when I hear the word Planck's constant, I'm thinking, that's plankton right there. That's all plankton. And so as I'm doing this exactly, you'll see that under me, right, the bikini bottom you're going to see Plankton all the way down there saying to Farah, yeah, you unleash hell's fury onto them. I am so evil, right? That was a terrible laugh, by the way. But anyways, now we're gonna shift into another memory palace. We're going to be observing Plankton in its own habitat, in the chum bucket. Okay, so I have a map of the chum bucket right now. Okay, so this is the chum bucket. You'll see Plankton right there. If you want me to zoom in, I can. Right. So over here, you're going to see Plankton. He says unlock Hell's Fury, so we know that E is equal to HF. And now the next formula that we're going to be looking at is, let's see. Let me try to go through this journey. So Plankton basically says unleash Hell's Fury, and then he starts walking, right? And then he realizes, like, as he's walking, there's a wall here, right? So he's like, okay, let me walk over here. Oh, actually, no, sorry. He's walking, right? And then there's a wall over here out of nowhere. It just came up. I don't know why. So he walked, he stopped, and then he turned left, and he walked again, and then he slammed his mouth into the table, right? And then after he slammed his mouth into the table, he basically smooches the table so that he can revertedly come back into his normal standing stance, right? And then a tinfoil gets on his head. Now, why does that make sense in the next formula I'm thinking about right now? Well, we have to know Planck's constant. Planck's constant is, if I recall correctly, based on whatever I'm seeing right now. He's walking, he stops, he turns left, and when he's walking, basically he's walking like the Grinch, okay? And the Grinch is associated with number 6, okay? Number 6, right? Number 6, 0.63. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, yes. 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34. Okay, and I remember this because, see, it took me a little bit of time because I feel a little stressed thinking about this. But basically, when I move, stop, and turn left, I'm using the major system, by the way, and the peg system. If you guys haven't learned about this already, I do recommend that you learn this. I have a Discord server where I basically have my own set of peg system and major system that you can try to memorize. I think my system is really easy and it's straightforward, but you can just do the official or memorize the official peg system major system that was provided on Google or Wikipedia or something like that. But basically, 6 is associated with the Grinch walk, okay? And so he's Grinch walking, right? And basically, this is really, it's almost Christmas too. But basically, the Grinch is walking, right? And as he's walking, that's number 6. He stops because there's a wall here out of nowhere, right? Basically, maybe something from the human surface. They threw something that penetrate through the ceiling and hit the floor in front of Plankton. So he's like, oh, let me stop. And so that's 6 point. So point is the point of him stopping. All right, 6.63. So he's walking again like the Grinch. So that's what indicates 6 again. And then 3, which is associated with the mouth, is basically him tripping over the table and falling and slamming his mouth onto the side of the table. So that's 6.63. Now, what's the next step? Well, he is basically smooching the table, and he basically used his mouth so he can push the table and get back into standing position. And in order to do that, I think of it as this must be an exponential amount of power associated with doing stuff like that. It's like the Superman push-up, really, right? Or, I don't know. It's really hard to do stuff like that. So I think of it as 6.63 and then times 10 to the blank. What is blank? basically, negative 34 was when he basically smooched and came back, right? And when he came back, I think of it as a negative charge, a negative number, because he's like kind of reverting back into standing position. So that's a negative number. So negative 34. So he uses his mouth, right? So that's 3 back. And then tinfoil was placed on his head by the machine, by his friend. I forgot the machine's name. But basically the machine placed the tinfoil on his head for good luck, okay? And tinfoil is associated with number 4. So 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34. I am hoping that that's correct. If we want to check, we can. Yes, 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34. This is rounded off, by the way. Okay? And so he has a tinfoil. He's like, okay, time to find the Krusty Krab's formula. So he's leaving his chum bucket building. Okay? He leaves this way, right? And he's trying to get to the Krusty Krab's place so he can steal the secret formula, okay? And as he's trying to steal the secret formula, as he comes outside, right, there's actually some random things going on, actually. Out on his way to Krusty Krab, he notices that there's Ed, and Eddie, okay? And they are people they're from a cartoon, okay? Ed, and Eddie. If you guys don't know already, I can search it up. But basically, Ed, and Eddie is a TV show back a few years ago. Okay, it was pretty popular back when I was younger. But basically, Ed and Eddie is chilling, right? They're probably smoking weed or something. Okay, and SpongeBob, being the being the weirdo he is, was testing an electric gun. He's so weird. SpongeBob is a weirdo. But basically, he's testing out an electric gun, right? He's shooting somewhere. He's just shooting random. He's like, what does this do? So he starts shooting an electric a voltage, right? He starts shooting something. And as he's shooting the electric gun, it basically bounced off of a mirror and then goes towards Plankton's hat. Remember, Plankton's hat is a tinfoil? Well, that tinfoil basically was kind of reflected the electricity on towards Ed. Okay, Ed, and Eddie was just chilling, right? And now Ed basically experienced a voltage shock. And so the next formula is voltage is equal to Ed, ED, right? So voltage is equal to ED. All right? And so as the electricity surged through Ed, you can see that his shirt basically flew out, right? And something surprising was something is seen. Actually, Ed is actually ripped. So when his shirt was ripped out due to the electricity, you can see his muscles. He has a six-pack. He's pecs, biggest biceps ever. He's like, who did that to me? Okay? And so as a result of that electric shock, we're going to go through the next formula called electric field. So basically, Ed has an electric field, right? And electric field is surrounding him, right? In an epic fashion. Okay? And as he is walking with the electric field, right? So electric field is equal to force over charge. And how do we remember that? Well, basically you can imagine Ed is basically pulling force, right? He's pulling force towards him so that he can maintain the electric field around him. So the force of the electric field is contained around his body. Okay? He's like, and he's walking slowly, right? And then he tripped. Ed is a clumsy guy. He tripped over something. He tripped over a charged molecule. Because we know that, well, actually, I don't know for sure, but, you know, multiple charges will probably interfere with the electric field somehow. So electric field is equal to force over the charge because he fell over the charge, dissipating the electric field. Okay? And now what happens next? So he fell down, he's on the floor, he's in prone position, right? He looks to his left. He said, "Oh, I'm in pain." And then something's coming at him. The person that's coming at him is the Ice Princess. And if you looked at the movie Ice Princess, it's basically a girl who is attempting to go to MIT to study more physics, probably as a physicist. But before that, she's in undergrad, she's studying physics, and she's testing her ice skating skills, right? And so, being the person she is in a surprising manner, she basically was skating towards Ed and decapitated his head. The reason for this is because she may have had osteoporosis. She might have osteoporosis, causing the bones in her legs to break. Now, why does osteoporosis have a meaning in here? Well, basically, we're thinking about osmotic pressure. Okay, she's placing pressure on her skates to penetrate through Ed's head to decapitate him, but at the same time, she has osteoporosis. So the bones in her legs broke, and she placed immense pressure onto Ed's head, decapitating him. This is done in order for her to really get into MIT. Really get into MIT. So osmotic pressure, which is symbolized as pi, is equal to capital R MIT. That is osmotic pressure. Okay, that's osmotic pressure. Now what happens next? Well, if I think about... Okay, so decapitation. Remember decapitation happens. And Plankton actually saw that happening. He's like, ew, what is happening right in front of my house? There's so much blood on the floor. I need to get rid of this. How do I get rid of this? And all of these people dying. Well, I'm just going to press this button on my house. And this button on my house will indicate... Well, Plankton is saying this. Plankton is going to push a button at his house so that buoyancy force will be activated. And so as a result of buoyancy force activating, you can imagine, the pressure at the bottom in depth in water. We're in water, remember that. And these people are submerged in water. So the density of the water and the volume in which the people are submerged in plays a role in the buoyancy force. Okay, buoyancy force is equal to density multiplied by the volume being submerged multiplied by, oh my goodness, do I remember this? Oh, gravity. Gravity is always put into consideration. Okay, gravity, density, volume. Multiply them to each other, and it's going to equal buoyancy. Okay. And so you can imagine all this blood, people will be basically flown into the air. But what about Plankton? Wouldn't Plankton be the first to fly up into the air? Well, actually, he was wearing metal boots, so he can prepare himself to press that button. So the metal boots allowed him to stay in the bottom of the bikini bottom. Okay? And so he turns off the buoyancy force just because, and then he walks towards Krusty Krab as he planned to get that secret formula. So he goes into Krusty Krab's, which is shown here, right? And as he goes into Krusty Krab's, you're going to notice, you probably remember the inside of Krusty Krab's, where a cashier is over there, there's a menu over here, and he's going to ask, "May I take your order?" Now, who's the actor here? I'm using Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is an actor, a pretty famous movie actor, right? He's saying, "May I take your order?" And Plankton said, "Sure. What do you have on your menu?" And Mel Gibson said, "I have two options for you. I can provide you free energy, right? One that is normal and one that is standard. Hence, Gibbs free energy." Gibbs free energy can be in two forms. The normal one, which is enthalpy minus temperature multiplied by the change in entropy, or standard Gibbs free energy is equal to negative RT ln, so that's natural log, multiplied by equilibrium constant. Now, I'm not looking at these formulas. I'm saying this on top of my head because this memory journey is actually helpful. And so how I remember this is that Mel Gibson, providing two choices, he explains to Plankton that there's two options, and he's going to explain them. One option is for him to provide free energy that is standard, and standard free energy is basically telling Plankton to basically go on his phone and to retweet, hence RT, retweet the line of coke production that Mel Gibson has. So line, LN, coke production. Coke, there's a K in coke, right? So that's equilibrium constant. And so we have that, and Mel Gibson said, but be careful. Even though this Gibbs free energy is really strong that I'm going to provide you, this is an illegal action that you will be doing. It's illegal, but you'll get the good stuff. Okay. And then Plankton said, what's the other option? Well, he said, I'm going to give you I could give you a normal Gibbs free energy, but it's kind of lame. Basically, I'm going to give you this spirit bomb, right? Basically, Gibbs free energy is basically in the shape of a spirit bomb, as shown in Goku, right? In Dragon Ball Z, Goku has a spirit bomb that can destroy anything. But basically, the spirit bomb, the normal Gibbs free energy, he said that he's just going to give Plankton a normal Gibbs free energy in which the spirit bomb can easily dissipate in energy. So you can imagine Gibson just giving him free energy, and that free energy would just dissipate. So it's so weak. And why is it so weak? Because it's spontaneous. And if Gibbs free energy is spontaneous, that means entropy is being increased by a big load. So basically, he's trying to explain to Plankton that I could give you this spirit bomb that has a lot of spontaneity, but that's a bad thing. Okay, it's going to be useless to you. So you might as well retweet for me. Okay, retweet for me in the standard Gibbs free energy. And so the illegal activity of standard Gibbs free energy is what makes it negative, by the way. So negative RT ln equilibrium constant. Okay. And so Plankton said, okay, let me retweet for you. Give me 1 second. All right. This illegal activity. All right. All right. So he has the almighty Gibbs free energy, the spirit bomb. All right. He's holding the spirit bomb. Okay. He's going outside back to home so that he can try to look into the spirit bomb to see if there's a formula in there. Okay? And as he's going home, Krusty Krabs, so Eugene Krabs, the owner of Krusty Krabs, basically came up in front of him, used his hook to grab onto the spirit bomb, and says, not so fast, Plankton. Let me check out. I'm going to steal this from you because it may have the secret formula. So he's looking at the spirit bomb, and Plankton said, no, what are you doing? This is mine. I did my deed to get this. But Eugene Krabs just looks at it. He says, whoa, this is stretchy. Why is it stretchy? He's grabbing it with a hook. So this is Hooke's law. Hooke's law. Okay? And Hooke's law is equal to the distance of the actual springy hook, the springy spirit bomb. So the spirit bomb you can imagine to be kind of stretchy, right? Springy. So if you pull it apart and let go, it's going to fly forward really quickly. And so this is what Eugene is doing. He pulls the spirit bomb. He looks upwards, and then he releases it. He basically released it. Okay? And it flew away back up to where Farrah was at. So Farrah's over here, right? Farrah, the spirit bomb went back up here and basically came back, went into the teleporter and destroyed everyone in their base, killing, hence K, right? And remember that I said that the teleporter is associated with negative energy. So basically Hooke's formula is negative K times X. X is the distance of the actual spirit bomb, and then when you let go, ball goes up into the teleporter, indicating negative sign, killing everyone, hence K. So negative Kx is equal to Hooke's law. That is my whole memory journey. That is cycled forward, but I can also reverse this backwards. So remember that there's Hooke's law going back down to the Bikini Bottom, right? Where Eugene Krabs did the hook. You can if you want to, reverse this backwards, you can. So you go back into Krusty Krab. Plankton asked for those two types of Gibbs free energy. And then you can imagine him going back again, pressing onto buoyancy force button, right? So that so that Ed cannot get decapitated. Remember the Ice Princess, osteoporosis, osmotic pressure. Ed is basically not decapitated anymore, but he's husky, right? Remember, he's walking husky with the electric field, right? And voltage is also equal to, let's see, so electric field is equal to the force that he grabs onto over the charge that he tripped over, right? And before that, right, voltage is equal to Ed, right, ED. And then before that, before the electric gun was shot to hit Ed, you are memorizing the Planck's constant, where Plankton is walking around his chum bucket place, and right here, and he's walking. Remember the Planck's constant where he stops, 6 again, so 6.63 times 10 to the negative 34. Okay, and then reverse. He was screaming at Farah, saying, "Hey, good job! You unlocked Hell's Fire, HF, full of energy, right?" And so E is equal to HF. Okay, and then reverting even further back, before this actually happened, remember the card was being split, right? And I grabbed the card. The Farah grabbed the card. Before I grabbed the card was being split by Genji, right? Genji was splitting it with a sword, right? And as he split it with the sword, we are looking at the index of refraction, where we have the speed of the card in light, speed of light, versus the speed of the unknown in the medium. So that's n, which is the index of refraction, is equal to the speed of light, which is c, over the velocity. So I think it's v. I think this typical variable is v. So the speed of the unknown in the medium, which is v. Okay, and so if we revert even further, we can think of, so before that, before Farah grabbed it, and before the index of refraction, I think after the index of refraction, between that, there's the gorilla looking at the optics formula, okay? And before that, basically, oh shoot, this is not good. Okay. So Symmetra was running towards that way, so he was reverting back. He dodged Bane, right? As he dodged Bane, Bane comes back to here. He did some elastic collision with Superman, but before that he was doing static friction on a skateboard, right? And then before that, he was unleashing his powers, right? All that power formula, internal energy, and then Widowmaker getting poked to death, right? And then she comes back up with kinetic energy in mind, and she's basically twerking up there, she's also demonstrating work over here. She's singing work. She's Rihanna, right? And she comes back over here, and as she comes back over here, you're going to notice that Torbjorn just looks around and he says, why aren't you looking at me? Because Torbjorn was basically trying to use his wrench to go through the tracer's abdomen to twist, right? And that will indicate not Hooke's law, but I'm not sure why I don't remember this right now. Oh, torque, because Torbjorn wanted to Tracer to keep twerking, but Tracer was like, I'm in pain, right? And then Tracer back up here, getting flown. She was flown, right? She was flown from the bell. There was gravitational force over here. She comes back over here, right? She was over here. She basically slammed into this bell, representing, remember, some centripetal force. Centripetal force. Before that, we were looking at F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, testing her abilities to hit the bell, but it actually injured her. And then back to where we are at step 1, which is kinematics motion. That was a long memory journey, but basically I memorize this forwards and backwards, and I do recommend memorizing even from the middle of the journey. So, like, for example, we can think of Ed being the person who got electrocuted, where voltage is equal to Ed, and then he used the electric field. He's moving forward, doing that thing. If you practice your memory journeys forwards and backwards, you'll understand your own palace well. And because you made it on your if you made your own memory palace, you probably will remember it better, because everything I know is definitely not something that you know, or it can't. I mean, you could know everything I know already. It's always possible. And yeah, so that's basically my whole memory journey. I hope you enjoyed. If you are following this journey,